Welcome to Spinning Back Clique, where each week here at MMA Junkie, we take a quick spin through the latest headlines in the sport. And we got some new faces in the crowd this week. Over on the end there, we've got Nolan King, goes from MMA Junkie Radio. He's familiar. And Danny Segura all the way in from New York. We're going to put them all on the clock, so let's just get right into it. Guys, this past weekend, we expected to crown a new flyweight champion at UFC Norfolk. Deiveson Figueiredo missed weight by 2.5 pounds before he got that second-round knockout of Joseph Benavidez. Now, I think the guy's a potential star, man. He can finish fights. He's got a fun fighting style, but we don't have a champion in the flyweight division. So is this the right moment for the UFC to shut down the 125-pound division, or what should we be doing there? Let's put 3 minutes on the clock and get started with you, Nolan. Have at it.
Yeah, man. I don't think this is the right time to nix it. I mean, maybe 6 months ago, if this scenario had come up, it would have been appropriate. But, you know, if you look at the division since that time, I think people have really grown to appreciate the flyweights. We've seen it on the last few cards where, you know, the standout fight is the flyweight fight. Last weekend was no different with Deiveson Figueiredo and Joseph Benavidez. That was a great fight. And you're right, John. I think Figueiredo does have that star potential. Brazil needs that next champion. They need somebody else to continue on that lineage, the great Brazilian history of UFC champions. So, I mean, people are talking about it. A fight with him and Henry Cejudo, if Cejudo were to move back down, I think people would be interested in that. So I'm here for it. I've always enjoyed them, and I think that just because of last week's debacle, I don't think that the UFC should cut him.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm down for the flyweight division, always have been. I think great fights happen there. That was a great fight. I mean, we just had a great fight, but we still need a champion. So, Goals, let me ask you, I mean, if we're going to keep this division around, how do we progress it? I mean, if you want to shut it down, tell us you're shutting it down. But if not, how do we progress it? What do we do with Deiveson Figueiredo?
I have to imagine if they really want to shut it down, now is probably the time to do it. There's surrounding issues that I think help their story out. But so many people have championed for this division for so long. I don't know that it's just going to hurt. It's the ESPN era. There's a lot of eyes on us right now. And for them to kind of put something out there that's going to make people go, well, why did you even have this belt anyway? It's just not a good look. The fights are good, like John said. So just keep it going. The problem is the lack of the bodies, right? You have a great fight, but then you don't see 125ers for maybe 2-3 cards. Then they come back. You forget. That's what makes everything so tough right now.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is, I mean, we know that the UFC likes putting those shiny belts on the poster, right? I mean, that helps sell events. So I really don't understand the advantage of shutting down the division. I mean, I do hear the matchmakers talk about it behind the scenes. I mean, another division is just more spots and it takes away from other opportunities. I get all that. But to me, man, I mean, I still think it's an exciting weight class. I think both those guys are world-class athletes. So, Danny, what's your next move? I mean, we're in a spot here, man. We have no champion in the division. What do we do?
You're right. It's kind of weird because it seems the UFC needs belts, right? There's more cards. You need, even if it's not a big belt, right? Even if it's not the heavyweight title and all this, you can still put it on an ESPN card. You can still put it on these Fight Night cards because, let's be honest, that UFC Norfolk card, without the title fight, it would have been a rough card. It would have been a rough card. So, look, the belt adds something to it. So why not keep it around? But I do agree with Ghost. If there's a time to kill the division, it'd be now. Why? Are you going to strip, Demetrius Johnson, the greatest fighter ever? That's a terrible look. Then Cejudo, are you going to strip an Olympian and force him to compete at a weight class where he's not optimal, but he later sort of changed that? Right now, there's none of that in play. They don't have to strip absolutely anybody, and they can just go, look, we tried. Here it is. And look, the guy that was supposed to air that division, Joseph Benavidez, didn't come through. So if there's a time to do it, is now. But I am a huge fan of the flyweight division. Like I said, I think there's value to keeping a belt around. So why not keep it around? But again, I think
time's
the
up.
future
Time's up. The new guy messing up already, man. What are we doing?
Gotta get in there.
I will say this though. You're right. I think there is danger because the guy's never even made 125 pounds, even though he looks like a star. All right, listen. Let's get the other side of that coin. It was heartbreaking to watch Joseph Benavidez come up short, man. He's a beloved figure in the sport, but 35 years old at this point, 14 years as a professional fighter. That was probably his last shot at a belt, unless they run it back for some reason. If you were an advisor for Joseph Benavidez, what would you recommend he do next in his career? Let's put 2 minutes on the clock. Go, have it.
Well, the issue is I would have to advise him to do something that he just really hasn't done too much in his career, and that's be very, very vocal. As soon as that fight was over, he has a case. Look, Figueiredo missed weight. There was a headbutt that the referee missed. Had he maybe stopped the action there and reassessed everything going on, maybe Joseph clears the cobwebs and maybe that fight goes on. Who knows? The cut's a factor there as well. So there's so many things going on in that situation that I think it warrants a rematch. He could get it, but he's got to be very vocal. He can't let the matchmakers do the job for him. Unfortunately, that's not really his style.
Yeah, he's not a big vocal guy. Danny, what do you think? Should he be out there calling for the rematch? I mean, he has fought at 135. I mean, we're talking about trying to keep this division around, but should he bounce out of it? What would you tell him to do?
Yeah, at this point, if they do get rid of the division, I don't know. Again, it's Joseph Benavidez' call, but at 35 years of age and fighting already for a long time at 125 with your body used to that weight, it'd be rough to go up to 135, and there's tons of killers up there. He does have a win over Cejudo, so there's that. But if I would advise him something, it'd be stick around, see what happens with the division. Again, there's enough little controversy in the weight miss, the headbutts. There's enough there for maybe to warrant a path back to the title. Plus, we know Joseph Benavidez is a very skilled guy. He can definitely put some wins together again. So just wait it out, man, and see what happens with the flyweight division. That's what I'd like to see next.
Nolan, what do you think? Rematch, and what's the play? Do you play it? Do you talk about the headbutt? Do you talk about the weight miss? How do you get it?
I mean, I think that the rematch is something that you can set up, but I think you would have to fight once before then. I think a lot of people, might want that immediate rematch. They love Joseph Benavidez, but I'm not really sure that that's the step that the UFC should take next. I think they should let Joseph go back, take some time off, regain himself, maybe take one more fight, and then throw himself right back in the picture. Because, I mean, there's not a ton of guys out there. As much as I love the flyweights, and I think there is some good talent, there aren't many guys that have that name like Joseph Benavidez. And for him to move up to 135, I'm not sure that that's the right move at this point. He's perfect size for 125, and I think that that's where he should stay.
Yeah, listen, it's totally up to Joseph, man. The guy's definitely fighting at a high level, so if he wants to stick around, he certainly can. All right, guys, we did have a couple of emphatic results in the women's featherweight division. 4 of the 5 women in the division were in action that night, which is crazy that that's technically a division, but it is. We need some more people there is what I'm saying. Felicia Spencer and Megan Anderson, they both got big wins in the first round. Amanda Nunes went to social media. She said, hey, I'm down to defend my 145-pound belt. So we got 2 people we can make out of it, right? I mean, that's all there is, unless we're bringing somebody else in. So what is the right fight to make? Is it one of these two? Is it a 35 fight? Should she not be defending this belt right now? What do you think? Let's do 2 minutes. Let's start with Danny.
Look, I really like what Amanda Nunes is doing right now because look, we've seen a lot of champs since Conor McGregor first sort of broke that ceiling, right? But we really haven't seen champ action as far as a champion actually defending both belts. Amanda Nunes is doing that. So 145 pounds should be next because she just defended her 135-pound belt against Jermaine Durandamy in December. So 145 is definitely the move. Now, we have 2 great options. I thought that was a great outcome for the featherweight division. Both contenders, Megan Anderson and Felicia Spencer, got first-round finishes, and both in really good fashion as well. I'd like to see Felicia Spencer get the next bout. I thought she had an admirable performance against Chris Cyborg. I think there's enough there to believe that there's enough doubt for her to bring into the fight. But also, we got to understand that Megan Anderson is a big star. If you look at social media, which is not always the best measure, but it is a measurement, Megan Anderson has, I believe, 440,000 followers on Instagram. Felicia Spencer has about 40. So there's a big difference there in as far as who is the bigger star. Sure, Felicia Spencer is fairly new to the UFC, and Megan Anderson has been around in the UFC for already a little bit, so she's got more exposure. So the bigger fight is there. Also the physicality, the size. It'll be a nice looking fight, right? But if you're talking about the biggest challenge, that challenge is Felicia Spencer, and that's the fight that needs to be made. Interesting.
So, Nolan, I think Danny Brown has some great points there, right? I mean, we do have the head-to-head result, too. I mean, Felicia beat her. So, on paper, it should be Felicia, but we're talking about this big following as well. Which way would you go?
I think Danny just touched on something very interesting, which is the optics of the matchup. I mean, in a sense, Felicia and Megan, neither one of them are going to push any needles in terms of pay-per-view buys against Nunes. So it's really Nunes against Fighter X in a lot of people's eyes. And Megan Anderson, just her size, I think her personality, it's a lot more of a, like from an outsider perspective, the optics of it is Amanda Nunes going up against this Australian, challenger that's really big, large. She's going to take on maybe the biggest woman that she's fought in her career, with right there with Cyborg. So I think the optics are important in this one.
It's incredible to think about. If it's going to happen in Australia, I'm okay with Megan Anderson. If it's not, you got to go with Felicia Spencer. She's the #1 contender. All right, it is UFC 248 fight week right now. No, we're all excited for that. This weekend, it's rising star Israel Adesanya putting his belt on the line against Yoel Romero. The same Yoel Romero who's registered just 1 win in the past 3.5 years. He missed weight for that fight, by the way. So, man, it's crazy to think that he's walking into a title shot, but we do know the type of guy that he is. The 3 losses were all fight of the nights. This dude is dangerous as heck. So it's a weird one. On one hand, it makes all the sense in the world. On the other hand, it makes no sense at all. So are you guys all in on this fight, or do you hate it? Let me know. 2 minutes. We'll stick with you, Nolan. Start it out.
Yeah, I mean, originally when this was announced, my initial instinct was, I don't like this. Why are they doing this? He's coming off of back-to-back losses. But we're getting a title fight between, arguably number 1 and number 2 in the middleweight division. Regardless of what happened in the past, this is a great matchup. Romero's been right there in all the title fights that he's had, close fights, back and forth fights. And I mean, when you take everything out of the equation, Israel Adesanya versus Yoel Romero is a great fight. It's a high-level fight, and it's something that I think no matter what else went on, people are going to be interested, including myself. So I am all in on this one.
That's interesting. Goes, tell me, because it's funny. People are pooping all over Jose Aldo for coming in on 2 straight losses and getting a title shot, but I don't seem to see the same kind of pushback here. So do you think this is the right fight to make, or do you not like it?
Yeah, it's hard to say a guy coming off of 2 losses deserves to be in this, especially in the fight capital of the world. It's really crazy when you think about it. You think of that ESPN crowd that's looking at the stats and they go, wait a minute, this doesn't add up. This doesn't look like the NFL or the NBA. But at the end of the day, you're left with a really good fight, and people are going to forget about that. I'm curious to see the politics behind the scenes with this, because really, if Yoel Romero wins this fight, what's Dana White going to say? I told you guys are crazy. You doubted why this guy was here. So does that mean that we're going to get more of these type of fights coming down? I really hope not, but it'll be a great fight.
Danny, what do you think? I think people are excited for the fight itself, but is it a bad move for the sport? I mean, are we setting bad precedent here, as Goes is saying?
No, not at all. I think with the Jose Aldo situation, maybe, yes. But with this one, no. Because let's remember the circumstances why this bout came about. Paulo Costa was supposed to fight Israel Adesanya. That was the fight to make. However, he had a bicep injury and had to take care of that. So who's the next contender? I mean, there's some guys that are in good win streak. Jared Cannonier, right? Darren Till is a big name as well. A few other guys. But they've yet to be proven commodities within the 185-pound division. Whereas Yoel Romero, we know what he has. We know how he can bring. So as far as being a plan B, this is a pretty good plan B. Also, that loss to Paulo Costa, right? It was a close fight. He's had a few fights there that came close.
Timing is everything, as Danny needs to
all I got to
out
say
is
I'm all in. I'm all in.
Timing is everything.
See you soon,
all
boy.
Right. In the co-main event, Zhang Weili, she puts her incredible 20-fight winning streak on the line against Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I want to ask you about this. I mean, this is an intriguing matchup for me. On the one hand, you've got this Chinese market that they're trying to break into, this new champion. I want to hear what you think about the fight itself, but also what might be best for the division, the sport. Tell me about this fight and kind of what you're interpreting it all as. Goes, let's start out with you. 2 minutes. Have at it.
Zhang Weili is scary. If you ever see her Instagram, see her hitting pads, just if you've seen her in person, she is everything that we used to say about Joanna Jędrzejczyk when she first came on the scene. I think it's a big deal for China, for the UFC. It's going to be a really good fight, and I think what it comes down to is just who's going to be a bully, who's going to come forward and press the action first. But I think it's going to be a little bit of I like the old Joanna Jędrzejczyk's comeback and interviews, her mindset. I just don't know if the skill set is there.
Yeah, it's intriguing, man. It's almost like a new, bigger version of Joanna Jędrzejczyk in some ways. Danny, what do you think? I mean, is there a result? I mean, Dana White says, hey, I've gone beyond the time where we kind of want somebody to win. But in the back of their head, trying to break into this Chinese market, would that be best for the sport, for Zhang to win?
Well, yeah, it'd be specifically for China, right? But yeah, this is an interesting fight and one I'm very curious. I mean, Dana White has done a fantastic job at sort of putting Zhang Weili up there with the Amanda Nunes and Valentina Shevchenko. I remember you did an interview, I think your latest with Dana White, right? Where you asked him about Valentina, and then he went on there and snuck in Weili Zhang name in there. So look, Weili Zhang is a fantastic fighter, 25 win streak, all that, but let's face it, her last win was a good one, but before that, she beat Jessica Aguilar and Tisha Torres. They're solid wins as well, but she's yet to face the Tatiana Suarez, the Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the Rose Namajunas. So I'm really curious to see how this fight looks and to see if she really is the next big thing.
Nolan, what do you think? I mean, we know this is kind of a rebuilding stage for Joanna almost, but as you said, great point there. Zhang hasn't been tested. What are you thinking about this fight?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great fight. It's Zhang's biggest test to date, in my opinion, stylistically, but I still think it's going to be her fight to lose. And really, that's what's best for the division. If going back to your original question, I think if she wins against a notable name, now you're really talking about she's taking that next level with global fans. So not just China. We got everybody involved now.
Yeah, no question about it, man. This is a big one. I'm excited for the fight. Stylistically, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see how long it lasts, but potential impact on the sport, guys. All right, well, listen, UFC 248 certainly the biggest card of the week. We got LFA. We got Cage Warriors. Invicta is giving open scoring a shot. We'll see how that plays out, all that argument we've been having, and we'll talk about it all next week on Spinning Back Clique.